Coleen Rooney has been refused permission to bring a High Court claim against Rebekah Vardy's agent as part of an ongoing legal battle between the footballers' wives over an Instagram post. Coleen Rooney has been refused permission to bring a High Court claim against Rebekah Vardy's agent as part of an ongoing legal battle between the footballers' wives over an Instagram post. Coleen Rooney has been refused permission to bring a High Court claim against Rebekah Vardy's agent as part of an ongoing legal battle between the footballers' wives over an Instagram post. Coleen Rooney has been refused permission to bring a High Court claim against Rebekah Vardy's agent as part of an ongoing legal battle between the footballers' wives over an Instagram post. The judgment was handed down following the latest court hearings surrounding the Wagatha Christie saga, during which messages between Rebekah Vardy and her PR agent were revealed. When Mrs. Rooney, 35, posted on her private Instagram about damage to her car, Mrs. Vardy, 39, messaged her PR agent, "She's a nasty bitch and would love to leak those stories," it was claimed by Mrs. Rooney's legal team on Tuesday. However, Mrs. Vardy's barrister, Hugh Tomlinson QC, denied the nasty bitch comment was about Mrs. Rooney. In last week's preliminary hearings, Mrs. Rooney's legal team applied to add Mrs. Vardy's PR agent, Caroline Watt, to the case, so she can make a claim against her for misuse of private information and a breach of data protection laws. This has now been refused. Mrs. Rooney alleges that Ms. Watts leaked the information on Mrs. Vardy's instruction or her approval. Both Vardy and Watt are fighting the application. The wife of former England footballer Wayne Rooney is also applying for her defence to be amended based on the WhatsApp messages which have come to light, and also want further information from the WhatsApp messages. However, Mrs. Vardy's barrister alleged that Ms. Watt's phone had fallen into the sea after she was on hit a wave, shortly after the court ruled that the phone should be searched. Around the same time, it was alleged media files from Mrs. Vardy's WhatsApp conversation with Ms. Watt also disappeared, along with the backups, whilst in the process of exporting it to her solicitors. Mrs. Vardy is suing Mrs. Rooney for libel over an Instagram post she made in October 2019 in which she claimed Mrs. Vardy's account was behind a number of stories which had appeared in The Sun. Mrs. Rooney set up her own sting operation to catch whoever had been passing on information from her private page to the press, leading her to be labelled Wagatha Christie. Mrs. Vardy has vehemently denied being involved in the leaking of the stories, insisting a number of people had access to her Instagram page. In one WhatsApp conversation presented to the court, Mrs. Vardy and Ms. Watt discuss Mrs. Rooney's tweet about the story involving damage to her car, which was posted on her private Instagram. Mrs. Vardy asks her PR agent if she's seen the tweet, to which Ms. Watt says, "Such a victim. Poor Coleen. And it wasn't someone she trusted. It was me." Mr. Sherborne claimed that Mrs. Vardy and Ms. Watt concocted a plan in case Mrs. Rooney found out they had been leaking the messages, planning to say it was an unknown user, and other people have access to her passwords. It was also alleged that when Mrs. Rooney's infamous post blaming Mrs. Vardy's account was published, Mrs. Vardy messaged her publicist, saying, "That's war." On Monday, Hugh Tomlinson, representing Ms. Vardy, said Mrs. Rooney has relied on selective and incomplete WhatsApp messages to support her argument, while ignoring the messages which demonstrate Mrs. Vardy was not responsible. He pointed to an exchange on February 6, where she's shocked that Mrs. Rooney suspects her of leaking stories. Mrs. Vardy messaged Ms. Watt, "She thinks it's me that's been doing stories on her. Of all the people on her Instagram FFS." She then goes on, "That CT needs to get over herself." X then adding, "Someone on her Instagram regularly sells stories on her though X." Mr. Tomlinson said, "If one reads these messages in full, what one sees is that Mrs. Vardy expresses shock at being accused, and she is here communicating with the person that Mr. Sherborne says is her co-conspirator. These are obviously candid personal messages, and if she was really concerned oh, this is terrible, we have been found out then it would have been completely different." Discussing the lost phone on Wednesday, Mr. Tomlinson said, "That is what happened. Mrs. Vardy was not present when that happened. She, Ms. Watt, was on holiday, she lost her phone." Ian Helm, representing Ms. Watt, said her denials are clear and consistent. He asked for the court to reject the claim brought against her, but added if it was to be heard it must be separately, as it would not be fair on Ms. Watt or realistic for the trial to take place in May. Mr. Sherborne said Mrs. Vardy had the means, opportunity and motive to leak stories about Mrs. Rooney. He told the High Court, Mrs. Vardy and her sidekick Ms. Watt had a clear hostility or animus towards Mrs. Rooney. They had the means to leak the stories, they had the access to Mrs. Rooney's private Instagram account, indeed at times they were the only people that did. The two-day hearing alone cost Mrs. Rooney £163,926 and Rebekah will have faced a similar legal bill.